In the last stream, we were working on setting up a mob farm all the way down here at the lower levels of our base to automate the production of specifically bones is what we were after. However, now that we have rotten flesh, we can also use this to make leather, but we were after these bones here to allow us to make wither skeleton skulls, and these skeleton skulls were needed to get wither skeleton skulls, which we used, of course, to fight the wither right at the end of the last episode inside of this compact machine using our elementium armor and our elementium sword. The purpose of all of that was to allow us to get the beacon for the Gaia fight. And the plan for today's episode is going to be to fight the Gaia, hopefully win, get some Gaia spirits, and use those Gaia spirits to make Terra catalysts, which we're then going to use to make the high covalence dust for the Philosopher's Stone, which is then also going to allow us to get something like the transmutation tablet or the transmutation table and begin using the EMC values of all of the items in the game to exchange and make as many of those items as we like. So to fight the Gaia, we just need to take a Terra Steel and shift right click it onto this beacon. There does need to be enough space around the beacon for it to work. I'm fairly certain that you need 12 blocks of space in each direction, which is exactly what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, like this. So this circle is a 25 by 25. It's 27 by 27 if you include the dark oak wood there, but I believe this is more than big enough for the Gaia. If you don't have a big enough space, you can just build it slightly larger and it should work. Before we fight the Gaia, in fact, our bats are kind of taking over in here, so what I will do is quickly jump off the edge, which should spawn us back at the top of the world, and unspawn those bats, or despawn those bats, I should say. But what I am going to do before we fight the Gaia is enchant both my elementium armor and my elementium sword. To do that, we're of course going to want to get an enchanting table, which is easy enough. We do need another book here, which of course means we need yet more sugarcane. We also, by the looks of it, need more obsidian as well, which means we are going to once again have to use the stone barrel here. Thankfully, we do still have lava in our tank right here. And of course, we can still use this in bucket mode if we press N to turn bucket mode on. As for water, we can of course grab that from here. And just like we've done a few times before now, if we do something like this and kind of surround that with cobblestone, we should then be able to get rid of the center one, place the water down, and then just right click with the tank of lava to get obsidian. Nice. Once we have enough obsidian, we then just need to get one more sugarcane to get the paper for the book for the enchantment table. And that is basically everything. Now, at the end of the last episode, I mentioned using the leather from the rotten flesh from the mob farm to make a bunch of books, to make bookshelves, to get us to the level 30 enchants. However, it turns out we don't actually need to do that because we can use the pylons from Britannia to make our enchanting more easy. If we put this down, I am going to have to break the portal by breaking these pylons to move them, but that's fine. We can also return the portal back on fairly easily. If we go ahead and place these Natura pylons down 1 block away from the enchanting table, you'll see at the top there it says Ench Power 15 on both of these. Now, in here, we can get level 30 enchants without the need for any bookshelves. And so we can just kind of keep moving these off the mana pool and then back to the mana pool whenever we want to do any enchanting. And so for us now, it should just be a case of taking our armor, placing that in here, giving it some lapis, and if we have enough levels, we can enchant. Now, of course, right now, we don't have enough levels, but of course, we do have these nuggets of experience, which we can craft into these heaps of experience, and I don't know if you can craft those any further. It looks like you cannot, but if we take those heaps of experience and we just right click, we can get a lot of experience very quickly. And of course we have like 4,000 of these, so we can get a few stacks and just really go through and shift on all of them until we have more than enough experience, at which point we should then be able to do something like this and get ourselves some protection. I'm not too worried about what enchantments we get here. There's probably some kind of way that we could look at removing some of the enchants and trying to get better enchants, but for the most part, so long as we get some enchants on here, I think that's going to be fine. The armor is already pretty powerful. The sword is also already pretty powerful. We do still have the golden apples from last episode. Before we fight the Gaia, I think I will go ahead and get a few more of these, maybe try and get us up to maybe 20 or maybe more golden apples, because unlike the Wither fight, the Gaia fight is not particularly difficult. There's a lot more moving around. It's just a lot longer than the Wither fight. And so we are likely to need a few more of these golden apples. I might also get some more strength potions as well. I do think these are going to come in quite useful for the fight. So I think what I'll do before we fight is get a few more golden apples and get maybe 4 more of these strength potions. And then at that point, I think we're basically good to go. The only other thing that we are going to need to get is 1 more Terra Steel, which is just a mana diamond, which we can get, along with a mana pearl, which we can get, of course, from an iron nugget if we quickly throw it in a couple of different mana pools, here, and of course that needs to have enough mana inside of it. We are completely out of black lotuses, but we do have hot graphite dust, so we can do a quick one of these, and then we can do a quick one of these, followed by this, fantastic. And of course, finally, last but not least, we need to get at least 1 mana steel, which we can do like this, and assuming we have at least half a mana pool's worth of mana in here, which we totally do, we should be able to do 1, 2, 3, and that's going to get us the Terra Steel that we can then right-click onto our beacon in order to fight the Gaia. Alright, so not too long later, I've got quite a few strength potions. We are fully enchanted. I, of course, have the Terra Steel, and we've got 25 golden apples. So I'm going to swap these out like this, and we'll put the baked potatoes away. And I think that we are basically good to go here. So this is probably going to be a little loud. I'm going to turn it down just a smidge here, because there is music that plays. And shift right click. Let's drink the strength potion. We can always drink more. The trick to this fight here is to avoid the spaces on the floor, so you can just hit this guy. The trick is to kill the little fairy dudes. Those are going to be tricky. Avoid the purple splotches on the floor. If you stand in the purple splotch, you will get the wither effect. You have a few seconds to get out of that space before you get affected, but if you don't get out of the space, you will get afflicted. So long as you kill these guys, I think these guys can also give you the wither effect. You just have to hit him as he teleports. He's going to look like your character. He won't look like my character for you. Just avoid these spots on the floor, and then it's actually fine, so long as you avoid those. You can't leave the area. I also believe that creative flight is disabled for this as well. And you essentially just have to do this for a little while. And after a while, he will begin summoning mobs. So people did recommend maybe a speed potion. A speed potion would be useful for catching him when he runs away like that. But the tricky part about the speed potion is that it can make it a little harder to be precise about not landing in these purple rectangles. So just bear that in mind if you are wanting to try the speed potion. Make sure your precision is high for that setup. And again, just always avoid the purple, like spores on the ground, and kill the little guys as well, because these guys can start to swarm you if you don't. Like, they're a little tedious, there's a lot of them, but if you don't kill them, they will overwhelm you, which is not ideal. We could have potentially used the extendo grip as well, which might come in useful for the mob killing part, but the trouble with the extendo grip is that it requires, oops, get out of the purple. The extendo grip requires that we take our chest plate off, which is not a trade-off that I was willing to make, but it could be useful. You can use the extendo grip without the tank, but it will break. I don't know how long it takes, whoops, for the extendo grip to break. Do be careful, sometimes the purple areas do go like a little bit above ground as well. At a certain point, he will fly up in the air, and that is when the next fight's going to begin. The little pink guys, by the way, they're on your team. Don't kill those guys. Those are spawned occasionally by using the sword, I believe. That's Elementium in flavor. Oh, get out of the purple, get out of the purple. I think we're pretty close. You'll see his health is pretty low. As you'll have seen earlier, it's not a hard fight, but it is a long fight. I'm going to drink this strength potion while we've got a second here, because I think that we are about to enter the next stage, which I think is also, by the way, the hardest stage for us, because what's going to happen, a bunch of mobs are going to get spawned, and then we have to not only kill those mobs, temporarily he's going to stop attacking us and stop fighting for a bit, but then once he comes back down, the mobs are not going to disappear, they're going to keep fighting us as well, which is not ideal. So get rid of any of these as fast as you can. There is like an order of priority. Priority 1 is, of course, with the skeletons, because those can give you the withering effect, not good. Priority 2 is anything with a range effect, something like the normal skeletons here. Witches especially can be quite horrible. Thankfully, the purple squares do stop during this section of the fight. You can easily outrun a zombie, but you cannot outrun a witch or a skeleton, really, in the space that you have available. So make sure that you get rid of the witches. This is really where that strength potion comes in super handy. The music has stopped, that's fine. Make sure you kill the skeletons. The trouble is, if you don't kill these guys fast enough, he will come back down, and then trying to kill these guys whilst the purple squares are on the ground is real bad, because they can, of course, knock you into the squares. But in our situation, if you manage to kill all of the mobs before he comes back down, I think you're good to go. And at that point, the fight isn't too bad. That might be famous last words because we've not won yet, but at this point, I'm fairly confident so long as we just stay out of the way of those little purple squares. They do seem to get more frequent towards the end of the fight. Again, just make sure you kill all the little dudes. And I think we're good to go, chat. I think this was way less difficult. Towards the end, you can kind of focus him down if you want, because these guys do despawn after he's dead. But there we go. The Gaia fight is done. And so, as you can see, if you know how the Gaia fight works, it's not too difficult of a fight. But if you're not prepared for it, it can be quite tricky. To be fair, you probably don't need the enchantments. I think you can do this without the enchantments. Again, it just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, making sure that you avoid the squares. However, now that we have the Gaia spirits, I think that we are basically good to go. So we can get the low covalence dust. We just need to get 2 more of the alchemy catalysts. That's fine. The medium covalence dust requires 2 more of the conjuration catalysts, which also requires more of the alchemy catalysts for more covalence dust. And then we, of course, need these 2 high covalence dust. This is the bit that we really need. The looting might have helped us, actually. I think normally you get 4 spirits here, not 8. But again, as I mentioned before, you really only need 2 to actually make this happen. And then we can use EMC to get more after the fact, but still good for us nonetheless. So for this, we are going to need to get 6 Terra Steel, because we need 2 high covalence dust. And so it's probably going to once again be in our best interest to get yet another 64 blocks of coal and drop all of those into our pressure chamber again to get 8 more diamonds, which is more than enough to make the 6 Terra Steel. And then from there, we should be good to go. But real quick, I'm going to go and make, I guess, how many do we need here? We need 2 alchemy catalysts for this, but then we need 2 more for this. We need more than 2 more for this because each conjuration catalyst requires the pixie dust, which is an alchemy catalyst, plus an alchemy catalyst here. So we need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then here we also need 2 more. So we need like 8 more alchemy catalysts, which I think is actually incredibly easy. The hardest part really, I think, is just going to be getting more living rock, because right now we're only at, 12 living rock or something like that. Everything else is fine. We have the blaze powder. We have the experience cubes that we can turn into experience sheets. Mana powder is just redstone or glowstone in the mana pool. We've got that easy to go. And the mana steel, of course, is just iron in the mana pool. So none of that's going to be too difficult. So I guess what I'm going to do real quick is wait for those diamonds to come in, and we'll turn those into mana diamonds. And whilst I wait, I'm going to make even more living rock around the pure daisy. So we've been making the living rock around the pure daisy up until now, but given how cramped this area is, it's a little tricky to do, especially given that we have the Terra Steel set up here. If I try and break all of the living rock at once, it's going to break the living rock on the Terra Steel maker, and then we have to replace it down, which is a little awkward. One thing we can do is we can look at making a floating pure daisy, which we can then place anywhere in the world. To do that is actually not too difficult. We first have to make a floating flower. Any mystical flower will work. We currently have no mystical flowers, which is fantastic. However, of course, that is because our flowers are all in our flower pouch. If we go ahead and grab one from here, let's say cyan, because we got the most of the cyan ones, to make it into a floating cyan flower, all we have to do is craft it with a dirt and a pasture seed. The pasture seed is made by dropping grass into the mana pool. So if we do something like this, we can then take some shears, and if we shear the grass, I don't want to pick up the ender flames if I can avoid it. I just want the grass. In fact, I think we might have just accidentally made a pasture seed, but all you have to do is drop this like so. And once you have the pasture seed, you can craft that with the dirt. And I believe it has to be a glimmering mystical flower, actually. To make it glimmering, you craft 2 glowstone with 1 flower, makes it glimmering. And then if you craft that with the pasture seed and the dirt, that should make a floating flower. It does. From there, you just craft that floating flower with the pure daisy, and you get a floating pure daisy. Nice. And so now we can put this really anywhere that we like, and then we can just surround that with whatever we want to surround it with, and it will work just the same. You don't even have to put it on the ground. You can put it up in the sky. You can get rid of the block underneath it. It will, as the name suggests, float. And not too long later, we now have 6 low covalence dust and 2 extra alchemy catalysts. We also have a bunch more living rock, which is good. And up here, our diamonds, once again, should be ready to go. Nice. So we'll take those. I'll also take the fuel out of the back. That sound has reminded me there's no need to waste that coal. So down here, we need at least 6 mana diamonds in order to get the 6 Terra Steel that we're going to need. We also need 6 mana pearls, also not going to be a problem, and of course we need 6 mana steel. We are going to need a lot of mana to make the 6 Terra Steel. We'll come back to that in just a second though. Before we do that, let's make sure we have everything else. So we need 2 low covalence dust. I'm going to put that back into the system because that is for the Philosopher's Stone. As for the medium covalence dust, we need to make 2 of these conjuration catalysts. How much elementium do we have? We've got more than enough elementium. That's not going to be a problem. We just need to get 2 pixie dust, which of course is why we have some of the extra low covalence dust here. And so let's go and throw those directly through the portal. 1, 2. That should get us 2. Oh, of course, I might have lost those because we need to put our Naturopylon back. That's my bad. Let me do this. The image was still there. It looked like it was still working, but of course we need to do this, and I need my Wand of the Forest to get this back online. My Wand of the Forest is potentially in this chest over here, actually. I think I might have left it in the last episode. I did. I'm very hopeful I didn't lose 2 covalence dust there, but I think I very well might have. I'm hopeful that if I turn the portal back on, it might spit out 2 covalence dust. Not enough mana is interesting. We currently don't have enough black lotuses, but I do still have quite a bit of hop graphite dust, and of course, we can make really as much more of it as we need. Let me get a few more of these going, and then let's put at least 1 of these into each of these mana pools to hopefully bring the mana amount back up to an amount that is suitable for this. Okay, so that's back online, and it did give us the pixie dust. Fantastic. That is good to see. And so now we should be able to make 2 of these conjuration catalysts, and of course we should then be able to pulverize those to get the 2 medium covalence dust that we need. So let's go wank those into our pulverizer down here. Boom. And then as for the high covalence dust, we need the Terra Catalyst, and as we saw here, there are a few things we need. The Gaia Spirits we have, the Terra Steel we can make, the Alchemy Catalysts we just put in the system. We do need, though, to get some Shimmer Rock, which you make by crafting Living Rock with Bifrost Block. The Bifrost Block is made by crafting Alpha Glass with the Rod of the Bifrost, which requires some more stuff here specifically, and unfortunately, for us, it does require yet more of the pixie dust. So we are in fact going to have to use the 2 covalence dust here, which means I'm going to have to make 2 more alchemy catalysts to get this going. Thankfully, I think we might actually have everything that we need to make 2 more alchemy catalysts. We are just missing some mana powder, which is actually perfect because mana powder is the easiest part of the whole setup. So let's do that, get 2 more pixie dust. That's going to let me make the Bifrost Rod, this guy right here, and then this is going to allow us to start making the Shimmer Rock. First thing we need to do, though, is take some glass. We throw the glass through the portal. That should get us... Actually, no, that's a complete lie. If you do that, you're just going to lose your glass, so don't do that. The first thing you need to do is take the glass and throw it into a mana pool to get mana glass. Once we have the mana glass, we then throw the mana glass through the Alpine portal. That should convert it from mana glass into Alph glass at, I think, a 1-to-1 ratio. It is indeed. Then from there, you can craft that with the Rod of the Bifrost to get Bifrost Block, and then from there, you can craft that with Living Rock to get Shimmer Rock. Nice. So that's all ready to go. Let me quickly grab a little bit of redstone here, and we'll drop that redstone into our mana pool, specifically one that doesn't have an alchemy catalyst underneath it to allow us to make mana powder, and then that should be everything for 2 more alchemy catalysts. It is indeed perfect, and then we'll just pulverize that downstairs when we go to take our medium covalence dust. Nice. And so now, what are we missing? We're definitely missing 6 Terra Steel, but I think other than that, we might be good to go. We've got the 2 low covalence dust there, which is what I need. And in fact, I think I have made a mistake there because I think we actually need 2 alchemy catalysts to make the Terra Steel. I don't need it in covalence dust form. So that is fine. I'll stop pulverizing that. And so let me quickly, I guess, go ahead and see if we can't make 6 Terra Steel ingots. To do that might take a little bit more hop graphite. So what I might have to do, because of course we need half a mana pool for every one, we have to do that 6 times, so effectively 3 full mana pools worth of mana. And so what I think we will do is we'll duplicate coal in here. We'll of course turn that coal into coal coke over here, and then we'll continue the process of making more hop graphite, more black lotuses, and we'll keep doing that and then periodically make some Terra Steel until we have 6 Terra Steel. All right, so not too long later, we are 1 Terra Steel away here. Let me do this, and let's also do this. That's more than half a mana pool. Chat was asking if we can temporal pouch the terrestrial agglomeration plate, which I'm actually interested in. If I do this, does that make that faster? It doesn't. make it any faster, unfortunately. That's a shame. We do need, however, to get some apatite before we can actually make the Philosopher's Stone, because even once we've got the 2 Terra Catalysts, these guys here, and use those, I'm just making sure we got enough mana, we do, fantastic. Even once we've got the 2 Terra Catalysts, which I believe we can now make, that's 1 and 2, it's just, oh, we need more Shimmer Rock, of course. I didn't make enough. 1, 2, 3, 4. Forgot we had to make 2 of these. Fantastic. And then all we have to do, of course, is pulverize these, and we're going to be good to go. You can also use them to get Gaia shards and also eggs. Interesting. But for now, we'll take these, we'll pulverize them downstairs, and we need to pulverize tin, which is one of these situations where it's actually potentially useful that we've backed up so much on junk here, because we need this raw tin. If we pulverize it in our pulverizer, we have a 25% chance of getting apatite, and so that's going to be pretty useful. Let's do this to accelerate. You can also use flint as a modifier down here as a catalyst, so if we put the flint in, the flint will increase the chances. You can hardly see it. I don't know why it's this color. Actually, I do know why it's this color. It's because we're on dark mode. If I go to light mode for a second, and we once again press U on flint and go here, you'll see the primary modifier 1.1x, the auxiliary modifier, which is what we're after, is 1.5x. So it gives us a 50% increased chance of getting the apatite if you have flint in here, and the flint is not guaranteed to be used either. It's only a 20% chance for it to be used. And so I'll go back to toasted light mode again, which is bad for this, but it's quite nice for almost everything else. And once we've got a few apatite, we actually don't need that much apatite. We can put the rest of these back. And in fact, we just need 2, right? Because we need 2 apatite dust, which we can get by, you guessed it, pulverizing apatite. And so once again, we'll give that a little bit of a tap to make it just that little bit faster. And chat, as soon as we have 2 apatite dust, I believe that we are now finally ready to go for the Philosopher's Stone. Are we missing anything? We are. We're missing the Dragonstone. The Dragonstone is just a mana diamond through the portal, and thankfully, we do still have 3 diamonds left over. So if I take this, I should be able to throw this through our newly reformed Alpine portal, and it should give me in return 1 mana diamond. Whoops, I'm a fool. I'm losing my mind with all this Britannia stuff. We need to put this in the mana pool, is where we need to put it, and then we need to throw it through the Alpine portal. It very graciously gave it back to me, which was very nice of it. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And now with the Dragonstone, we do have everything that we need in order to make the Philosopher's Stone. And with that, we have unlocked ProjectE in its entirety, beginning with, I guess, the transmutation table here. This is fairly straightforward. 4 obsidian, 4 stone, and 1 philosopher's stone. For that, we are missing nothing. Put this in. It doesn't get used, thankfully. And this is going to allow us to begin transmuting really anything that we like. The way this works, for those who don't know, you can put it down. And in here, you can now begin to teach things to the transmutation table. For example, we have the apatite here. If I put this in, you can either put it in the burn slot. The burn slot will delete it and store it in here, but you'll see the apatite has an EMC value of 32, and we now have an EMC value of 32 in our EMC network. You'll see in the top left there, it says EMC 32, and so if we wanted to take something out of the transmutation table that has 32 EMC, we could do that, like the apatite. And the cool thing is here that we can make more stuff. You can also, if you don't want to delete the item, put it on the left here. That will teach it without burning it, which can sometimes be quite useful. But now we can, for example, Mana Steel, we could throw all this in here, and we can convert Mana Steel into Gaia Spirits. We can get more of these out, and we can also do the opposite. We can burn all these Gaia Spirits and turn them into Mana Steel. We can convert them. Pretty cool stuff. You can also do the same with the Philosopher's Stone itself. Where's our Philosopher's Stone? There it is. Just in case we lose it, we can put it in here. Good to go. One other thing that's pretty nifty is that this network of knowledge is retained. So if you move this elsewhere, it does still know everything that was in there. And even better, if we were to go ahead and kaplunk this over here, I think this is how this works, we get a transmutation tablet that we can now just right click anywhere that we want and access all of our EMCable items. So we can put a bow in there, and now I can get bows out. I can put the iron axe in there. We can get axes out. We can do the rod of the Bifrost. We can get that out. Bottles. You can put everything in here and get more out of it, including, actually, diamonds. We saw the diamonds earlier. We could take those, put them in here. Fantastic. As we saw before, we can now do this, and we can craft our Philosopher's Stone with 2 diamonds to get an emerald. We can then put the emerald in here. It's a little expensive. It has 16,000 EMC, but we can then go ahead and just take as many as we like, so long as we have the EMC to make it. And so now I guess it's kind of a question of kind of finding... Actually, I guess it's not even that going to be that difficult. I was going to say finding that thing that we have that has the most EMC. But to be fair, we've got so much redstone that we can just craft a bunch of redstone blocks, take so many of them out, and then just dump all of them into here. that we're going to very quickly get more than enough EMC to get a ton of emeralds. If I take all of my redstone out of here, we can then do this and maybe just dump all this like back in, take it all out in block form, do that again. Fantastic. That looks like we have fully gone through maybe all of our redstone at that point. I don't want to go through all of it, but we can of course get a lot of it back if we want to from here. What I do want to do though is I want to get enough emerald blocks, which are very expensive, but I want to get enough emerald blocks to where I can actually make the improved dank. I want to be able to upgrade the dank that we've got. To do that, I do need 8 blocks of emerald, which is a little pricey, but I think if we get some of this stuff out of our system here, we've got so much zinc. If we take some zinc blocks and dump those in there, that's going to help us a little bit. Gets us to 5. What else do we have that has a high EMC value? I guess we can start taking flint. You can block flint up as well. It's not particularly high on the EMC front, but we do have a lot of it, so I guess we might as well go ahead and chuck it into here. That also does help free up a little bit of space. And of course, we can also throw our blocks of iron, and I think gold is even higher than iron. It's super high on EMC. So if we take a stack of gold blocks, throw that in there, that's going to get us more than what we need. So let me take this out. That's not how you do that. I want to shift right click from further away, do something like this and this. That's going to get us the dank 4. And then I guess while we're at it, we might as well go all the way and get the diamond version as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we might as well just take these back out, put these back in here, do this, and get ourselves 8 diamond blocks. Nice. We can then do this, and that is going to give us a dank 5, which is now able to hold so much more stuff and hold so much more in each and every slot. In fact, we can go one step further here because the next dank is actually just obsidian, which is surprisingly even easier. Like the emerald was definitely the hardest. It's an odd order here. I would have thought obsidian first, then diamond, then emerald. But the good news for us is that we just need to get 1 obsidian. I don't think we have any left in the system. We do not. Also, I do want GAI sync search off. That is fine though, because we do still have this setup over here ready to go. And so 1 obsidian can then be made into infinite obsidian over in here. We of course just need 8. But now if we head back down, we can take the dank out once again, shift right click from far enough away and upgrade it with the obsidian, to the point where now we can hold 262,000 items per stack, and it's just got so many more stack slots available. People in the chat did point out that you can press left control to lock a slot. Locking a slot means that even once you take all of the items out, kind of like locking a drawer, it will still only hold that item, which I think is going to be good for us. So there are things we don't, like between streams, I'll spend some time organizing this. Like here, we want all of our gold to be in like one spot. We can lock that. We want this to be in here. We can lock that. And then going forward, if you press sort, it looks like annoyingly sort does unlock the slots, but that's fine. We'll lock in all the stuff that we do want to lock. And like I said, between streams, I will take a look at this and kind of tinker with the edges. I think for the most part, the system should work, but I think there are going to be things that are kind of clogged up because of the way that we set it up. For example, there shouldn't be blocks of lapis in here. These lapis bricks shouldn't have made their way in, which I don't think they will going forward. Hopefully, we should just end up with the lapis in here, but there might be some small tweaks required to make that work. For the most part though, that is all good to go. And of course, we have our Philosopher's Stone now. There's also the Watch of Flowing Time, which is very interesting indeed. The Watch of Flowing Time here is nifty because it kind of acts like the temporal pouch, but it's a permanent effect and you can place it down wherever you want. You don't have to stay there with it. To make the Watch of Flowing Time, you need 8 clocks. Again, you can make 1 clock and then just teach it to the transmutation table, and then from there we can take out 8 of those very easily indeed. And at that point, we just need a dark matter. The dark matter is made with a block of diamond and Aeternalis fuel. Aeternalis fuel is made with the Philosopher's Stone and coal. So first, you craft 4 coal with the Philosopher's Stone. This is a shapeless recipe. You can put it anywhere that you like, and this makes alchemical coal. The alchemical coal can then be taught, of course, to the system, and from there, you can then craft the alchemical coal. Again, you guessed it, with the Philosopher's Stone. That gets us Mobius fuel. That Mobius fuel, you guessed it, can be taught to the table. And once we have the Mobius fuel, you can then craft again with the Philosopher's Stone to get Aeternalis fuel, and that Aeternalis fuel is actually what we're after, because that Aeternalis fuel can then be acquired via the transmutation table. It is quite EMC heavy, but we can then craft this with the Philosopher's Stone, and I believe we can then craft this with a block of diamond, which we can get if we put some of this back. I would like enough in there to get a diamond block. There it is. Fantastic. And we only actually need 8 of these anyway, so I'll put the rest back in there. And if we do this and this, we should then get our first dark matter. We'll teach it, of course, but the first dark matter can then be used for the Watch of Flowing Time. Now, in order to use this without us having to be nearby, we would need to get a pedestal from ProjectE. Specifically, this dark matter pedestal, and this thing is real expensive. It requires 4.6 million EMC. It requires 5 blocks of dark matter, as well as 4 red matter. The red matter is an upgraded version of the dark matter. So I think we're going to have to hold off on that for the time being, but the idea is that we can use this to just accelerate time when we put it on that pedestal. We can set it to fast forward, and then we can use it on the pedestal to accelerate an area around the watch basically permanently, which is very, very powerful. And so I think what we'll do, chat, is next time we will come back, and now that we have ProjectE, it's going to be so much easier for us to transmute our resources and get a large amount of any given resource, which is great. But I think next time we'll come back, we'll probably start either on refined storage. I think initially it's going to make sense for us to get the remainder of the thermal expansion machines that we need. We also need to upgrade our power massively because there's quite a few power-hungry recipes on this side of the questline, especially using the energizing orb. This right here, this charged amethyst, I think is prohibitively expensive power-wise. It requires 100 million redstone flux to turn 1 amethyst shard into 1 charged amethyst, and there's no EMC on the charged amethyst, so we do have to do that quite regularly to make things like the twinite ingot, which is then required to progress forward down to the end of this questline. We also, of course, do need to work towards the arc furnace using this bit of the questline, and so we're by no means done just because we have ProjectE unlocked. There's still a fair bit of work left to do. It's just going to make things that little bit easier now that we can transmute anything that we want, and now that we have access to potentially using the Watch of Flowing Time, we might be able to squeeze out a pedestal if we dump a lot of what we've got into the transmutation table and try and convert everything into EMC. Real quick, we did make the personal shrinking device in the last episode, and I think if we make the Tinker's Workshop here, we might be able to charge it up. To do that, we need some planks and a crafting table. That's actually fine. We do have planks available. The system, for whatever reason, just does not like to put them in when I shift click it. That's fine. Let's do this. Let's do this. And so now we just need to get the redstone flux coil. As we saw before, that's just rose gold that we crush. That's going to be fairly straightforward. We do have our crusher, and we do have plenty of rose gold. So let's do one of these, and boom, fantastic. Then let's go ahead and make ourselves yet another redstone flux coil, and we are going to have to manually place the planks into this recipe 1 and 2. And there we go. We got a Tinker workbench. And I believe that with this, we should be able to charge our item. Specifically, if we get another one of these LV wire connectors, as well as, of course, some more insulated wire, I think we can then use that to get power into the Tinker table, like this. And from there, we should then be able to place our other personal shrinking device into the Tinker table, and that's going to start to charge it, which is good. I don't know how much charge we need inside of it, however, and I don't know how useful this is going to be. However, if we take this, we can now essentially use this to make ourselves much, much smaller or much, much bigger. Right now, we're at 1.0. You can go down to 0.2, and you can go all the way up to 10. So if, for example, I went to 2, and then I shift right-clicked, it makes me twice as big. And so now, I'm a big boy walking around in the base. Again, I'm not entirely certain how useful that is compared to being a normal-sized boy, but I can make myself bigger. Again, I think if we shift right-click, it takes us back to normal, and then if we want to go 3x, we can do that. We can shift right-click, and now we're even bigger than we were previously. And you get the idea here. If we wanted to, we could go all the way up to 10x, shift right-click, and now we're much, much bigger than we were previously. It's kind of hard to see how big we are, just how big we are given the size comparison to the rest of the base, but we're now pretty big, much bigger than we were previously, and it's kind of hard to get around, actually, given just how big we are, and also a little bit eerie, the fact that we can't see our feet as well. And then, of course, on the opposite side of things here as well, you can, in fact, go smaller. If we go all the way down to 0.2, in fact, you know what, we could start by going back like 0.9. That's going to make us just a slight short person, but then if we go all the way down, we can get tiny, and we can get inside the mana pool, I think. Look at this. You'll have to see it. We can just bathe inside of the mana pool like that. Flippin' heck. And that's it, chat. I think with that, we're going to have to go ahead and wrap up this episode because next time we'll come back and like I was saying, we'll either work on getting the remainder of the thermal expansion machines. We are going to probably have to get quite a few more of these machine frames. And then I think we will probably start either on the reactor or on getting over to the arc furnace. I think those are like the next two things that we really do need to work on. Sometimes this can be useful, by the way, this being small thing. Like there are some niche instances where you can kind of get into contraptions that you wouldn't normally be able to get into. I do believe these machines are kind of fully, are they not fully? Oh, you can't walk through it. I thought you could walk through some of these machines. You can walk through the crusher. That's kind of nifty. But unfortunately, you can't walk through the metal press. Not quite sure what the difference on that one is. But you can get into the little nooks and crannies that normally you wouldn't be able to get into, which I guess is a nifty little feature. Not entirely certain how useful it's going to be, but it's pretty nifty nonetheless. And so, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Sky Revolutions there.